Hey, welcome everybody. Glad to have you on this video. I have a great guest, Terry Judge. He's going to share with us what his business does, Core Advisors out of Detroit, Michigan, related to amazing tax benefits you can get with apartment investing and commercial deals. And I think the information he provides is really going to get you excited. You're going to rethink some of not only tax benefits, but maybe what asset class you want to invest in. He even goes into politics and the implications of the election, and that is around the corner. So I hope you enjoy the video. As always, like the video, subscribe to our channel, stick with us. All right, thanks. All right, welcome everybody. I am glad to have you here on the True Wealth Investors Podcast. I am Chad Harris, your host, and today we have a great guest, Terry Judge from Core Advisors, and he is not only a real estate investor, but a great consultant, has a lot of insight into really the benefits for property taxes, tax codes, a whole lot of things. And that's his specialty, not mine. So I'll let him tell you all the different things that he does. But welcome, Terry. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Chad. Look forward to sharing with your listeners. And I'm going to try to make the tax conversation a little bit more sexy.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
I even wore the pink shirt today just to spruce it up.
It's working. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
So give us a little context first. What's your background? What exactly, how long's your business been going? What do you do?
Yeah, for sure. So, a serial entrepreneur, I would say, first and foremost. Started a couple different companies before I founded Core. I was in the energy efficiency business, back in the early 2000s, and then started Core Advisors back in 2006. So we're going on, it'll be 15 years, hence the white hair now, January. So it's crazy. And we've really dedicated our practice around helping real estate investors pay very little or zero taxes through depreciation, advanced depreciation methods, which is known as intimately called cost segregation or engineering-based cost segregation. And so some of that, it's been in the code since the late 60s. So over time, and really over the last probably 5 years, it just keeps getting enhanced. The IRS, and depending upon what side of the fence, Democrat, Republican, even it's been enhanced in either party who's held the White House. So it's been the gift that keeps on giving. I like to do a lot of educating, customers, clients, people that maybe are not utilizing it to the fullest. Maybe they don't. Some of the new listeners are maybe they're buying their first building and they need to add this into their tax planning. So we've expanded nationally. We do other things for commercial real estate investors, such as property tax mitigation. So once that building goes into service, it's a good time to review your property taxes and see if that could be reduced. And we also do some energy efficiency tax incentives called 179D and 45L. One is a deduction and one is a credit for rehabs and renovations and new construction. So those are some of the other things that we can kind of help our clients maximize. And not a lot of people know how to really CPAs don't do this type of work. They totally understand depreciation, but they don't really do this type of work in-house. So they would outsource it to a company like Core.
Okay, sure. So a couple quick questions. One, what's the difference for an investor between a deduction or a credit? Why does that matter?
So a credit is a dollar for dollar tax credit. It makes a bigger impact on so you can still take all your depreciation, and then a credit will even take it down even further. So, and you can, sometimes there's depreciation, sometimes you're getting tax credits, but the credit is at the end of the day, it's whatever your bottom line is, and then you take that credit and it reduces it a dollar for a dollar. A deduction is just like, you take all your expenses, your line items like your phone, your internet, you're writing off maybe gasoline for your car, your wireless phone, all that stuff is a deduction, and it comes off of the top. And then you get whatever after that, then you get hit with whatever your taxable income rate would be. So hopefully a credit is better. The depreciation or deduction is awesome, but even you can get a tax credit somewhere, it's even bigger. It's a bigger impact to the bottom line.
Sure. And then I talked recently on an episode about tax benefits and depreciation, but I really want to go into cost segregation and exactly what that process is, why it's so beneficial, really what the impact is for the investor.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of a funky name, number one, and it's been around for a long time, but it was in the code since the late 60s. It went away in the tax reform in 86, and then it came back in the early 90s, but nobody really was promoting it. The IRS does a horrible job at, they're not sending out flyers about this new tax loophole for the wealthy to reduce their, but I tell you, then on the other token, they love stimulating, the real estate market, and the tax code is really designed for real estate investors. There's no other industry or no other way to reduce your, kind of mitigate your income and have all the wonderful benefits of real estate investing. And then when you add cost segregation into the mix, it's just amazing. So let me, Chad, if you don't mind, I want to break down for the listeners, I'm going to give you a real 2-minute, maybe even less, of what cost segregation is for the newbies coming in.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I like to say that in the tax code, there's 2 pathways to depreciation. One is called the straight line method, which is just about every CPA across the country will use the straight line method. And if you and I bought a building for $1 million, that building and everything inside of it is going to depreciate over 27 and a half years. Okay. So cost segregation is the second pathway that the IRS allows, where you can break down different components inside the building and then write them off over a much shorter period of time, like 5 years. And what I mean by that is, so all of your, not all of it, but portions of the plumbing, your irrigation, your wiring, your electrical, fixtures, carpeting, non-load bearing walls, drop ceilings, drainage systems, swimming pools, curbs, outdoor lighting, electrical. Think about all that. Your parking lots, big ticket items that make up a big portion of your cost basis in that building can now be written off over a 5-year period, and land improvements depreciate over a 15-year period, as opposed to waiting 27 and a half years. So my question is always why would you let the IRS hold on to your money for 27 and a half years when you can get that money in today's dollars, taking advantage of time value of money? So $1 today is worth much more than $1 down the road. And with where our economy is and the way we're printing money, is there going to be a correction, at some point? I mean, there's got to be a correction. So taking that money in today's dollars and using it to build your empire is very, very smart. And cost segregation is really the only method to actually do that legally. We're just moving components out from what we call real property, and we're putting it into personal property under Section 1250, and doing that at a federal level. So it's not the same as your property tax type stuff locally, at the county level. So it's at a federal level, and it's not considered aggressive either. That's what's beautiful about this.
So yeah, usually when you do a remodel, or when you make a capital improvement on the house, you assess what that improvement was and how long you would depreciate it. So you're doing a similar process. It's just at the time of purchase, all of the things inside of the building. Is that essentially what you're doing, and assessing how long it'll be depreciated?
Exactly. Yep. The IRS has all these. There's been over 300 IRS revenue rulings and memorandums that have come out that dictate what can be moved from real property into personal property. And then, so we take a look at the interior, which is normally a 5-year, 5-year assets inside the building. And that's all of like your interior build outs and improvements type stuff. And then you got your land improvements outside, which we mentioned some of those components, and those are under a 15-year breakout. And now with what was called bonus depreciation, this was a little gift that passed. There's another little bonus that the IRS gave us just recently. Actually, September 27th of 2017, the IRS introduced bonus depreciation. People are like, what the heck is bonus depreciation? I mean, cost segregation was already phenomenal. And I'm reading this when it first came out, I'm like, no way. So they're basically now, if you buy a building, okay, same scenario, you and I buy a building, and we buy it after September 27th, 2017, it now qualifies. So instead of waiting 15 years for land improvements to be written off and all your interior improvements to be written off over a 5-year period, it now can be written off in year 1. And that becomes very substantial to, especially like a lot of the guys that are jumping into syndications, and they're looking for depreciation. So even, you put in an investment, let's say of $100,000, or you and I buy a building and our down payment was like $250,000. Our write-offs in year 1 are going to be around, just on $1 million building, about $250,000 to $300,000 now. So you're literally writing off your down payment, so to speak. Wow. And it's just like, wow. So it's very, very significant, and that will phase out. We have till 2023 to utilize that. It phases out right now in the Trump tax code, over time. So hopefully that'll remain in the tax code. But it's very significant.
Well, that's sure. I love it. For somebody who doesn't quite, they understand it maybe conceptually, what would be in reality breakdown if somebody bought a $500,000 building, and instead of doing straight line depreciation, they do the cost segregation and front load that depreciation, or even the bonus depreciation? What's the actual impact for that investor or buyer?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because we just finished up. I don't have it. I didn't print it out, but we just finished up. We're doing one of our clients bought a building. It was for 500 and, well, so let me back up here. So we do back out land. So if we bought a building for, let's say, let's just call it $500,000, we're going to back out 80%, or about 85% for real estate, and about 15% to land. Okay. So this gentleman, after we removed the land, his basis was $557,000. And his first year net, not the depreciation, but after tax. Okay. And we're using about a 40% between state and federal. So in his pocket, that he will not have to pay Uncle Sam, was almost $80,000. It was like $78,852. I was just looking at this morning, so it's fresh in my brain. And before, which was interesting, Chad, we wouldn't do a deal if it was under $1 million, because economically it just didn't make sense. So the basis of the building minus land, we were always targeting about $1 million and above. But with some of the new tax changes that took place, we're now doing cost seg studies for clients with $500,000. And the reason why it makes more sense on the lower end properties is because we're able to move the land improvements that used to be a 15-year lifespan asset, we now can crush it into 1 year. So even buildings that, maybe they're sitting on an acre and they've got a half acre developed with parking lots and curbs, and that money obviously makes up part of the cost. So we now can, that first year tax benefit is now substantial, even on the smaller buildings.
Yeah.
And that's been a real game changer across the country for people that are getting into their first duplex or fourplex or small multifamily, or, we do a lot of office and commercial and senior living and hotels and storage facilities. All that stuff are great for cost seg. We just have a main emphasis for multifamily. That's really been
Sure.
great.
That's a huge impact. I mean,
Yeah.
80,000, no tax. Yeah. Who wouldn't
It,
like that, right?
yeah. I mean, it does make a big difference. So even for guys that are investing in deals, they get that depreciation deduction on their K1s, and let's say they put in 50 grand, or whether K1 could show, they could show a negative on their, even though they've made money on the dividend or on the, their preferred return, they could get it could be a negative on their K1. So
And
that's
so
just a beautiful thing.
if they get a negative on a loss, essentially on their K1, and they
Loss.
are a high earner wage wise, does that uh, shelter some of the taxes they would pay on their W-2 income?
So the only way you can offset your W-2 income is if you're a active investor versus a passive investor. So if you're an active investor, then you can use the depreciation to offset your W-2 wages, which is,
Okay.
obviously that can be great. That can be huge. Um, but yeah, so there's a little bit, get with your CPA, but that's you can make that work. You just have to. There's X amount of hours, X amount of things you have to be doing that you would document to be considered that active investor, but that's the next step. And then you can use it to offset. You can even offset, you can take cost segregation on one building and apply it to another building that maybe didn't generate enough depreciation or what have you. That's another tool. As well as, you could, if somebody decides, well, you know what, I don't want to do a 1031 exchange, but I've got all this tax liability from the company that I exited. They can take the depreciation, especially now with bonus depreciation, you get so much of it in year one. You can use that and apply it to offset other income from other avenues. And that can make a real impact when you don't want to be in that time window with a 1031 exchange where you're kind of forced to probably overpay for the next property because maybe you just didn't have enough time for the due diligence and you had to move that capital gain-ish situation or event into the next building. So this can become a very powerful tool when used correctly.
Yeah, sure. So I know, in the current political landscape, taxes are a big issue, right? And with one side claiming that Trump didn't pay any income taxes. So, or very little anyway. So, is this probably a large part of his not owing income taxes, or what do you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, most people that ride him, I mean, whether, why he doesn't releases it, whatever. It's under audit, that's that's Trump. But
Yeah.
the guy owns a lot of property and he uses a lot of depreciation and he loves cost segregation. And that's why he pays very little in taxes because he's got smart attorneys, smart CPAs. He's probably got a, cost seg firm. I would love to have that business. But, and that's why he pays little, that, but sort of all these other companies that have real estate and, all these big billion-dollar companies, they show very little in income taxes as well, but they're just leveraging the tax code until the law gets changed, and hopefully it doesn't. It is what it is.
Right.
So,
He
but
he's the
yeah,
one in the public eye and being criticized. He's not the only one taking advantage of these tax benefits, obviously.
he is. There's a lot of wealthy Democrats that own a lot of real estate, and they love paying very little taxes. They just won't admit it on TV, and they want to blame Trump and all that stuff. But it is what it is. And so we
Yeah.
just hope it remains in the tax code no matter who takes office.
So, and I think it's huge. I doubt the IRS gets many letters from people complaining that they don't have to pay taxes because of depreciation. So I think depreciation is a huge tax benefit to investors, in that it's shown as an expense, but it's not an actual expense. So we are able as investors to earn profits, but not have to pay tax on those profits, right?
Correct.
And in my opinion, the tax code is essentially what the government wants us to do. And so if they want us to invest in real estate, they will provide a reward for us. It's not,
100%.
yeah. So if we are unhappy with the tax code, it means that we're just not quite doing what the government wants us to do. We just need to change our behavior and start investing the way that the government wants us to invest, or start businesses the way the government prefers. And then we will receive those benefits. Essentially, we will be rewarded for doing what they want us to do in the marketplace, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because the amount of people filing to start new LLCs is through the roof because of COVID, probably because of what's going on. But I think there's just been a major, wake up call for people to start a secondary income stream, start buying single family homes, and then move into, I mean, this community that you and I belong to is freaking phenomenal, and all the free information and all the podcasts we get to listen in on with guys that own 2 and 3 and 4,000 units, and we can just learn literally for free if we just pay attention. I mean, why wouldn't somebody just, even if they're doing 1 or 2, small deals a year, and just start an LLC, and just to take some of the basic write-offs in your home, start there, and then move up and really start to leverage, like we're talking about here. It's just and like you nailed it, Chad. I mean, the IRS incentivizes where they want things to be promoted. I've been doing specialty tax services for 15 years, and from time to time, they will do these energy promotions, and things go crazy, and we're doing a ton of work under this what's called 179D, which is an energy program for any investor, building owner, putting green energy efficiency in their buildings. And then that went away, and it kind of died down, right? And then it came back, and then it went away, and then solar explodes, and LED lighting goes crazy, and then some of the incentives go away, and it kind of dries up a little bit, and then we're running over here. And so you're right. It's just the IRS has always promoted real estate investing. I mean, it's just in black and white, man. Even though it's a little complicated, you got to learn. There's a lot of things to learn, but just got to put it in the game plan and go for it.
Yeah. What's your, I'm interested in what your take is. We are in the election season. We have a big
We
debate.
are? No.
Yeah. It's hard to believe. I've seen a commercial or two. We have another glorious debate coming up later this week.
Thursday, yeah. It's gonna be fun.
What do you think will happen after the election? What impact will there be depending on who wins? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, not getting too deep into the weeds on this show, but I think if Biden wins, the real estate market could be in a little bit of a little bit in trouble, just because, well, multiple things, but he's already said, and it's on his website, it's already in writing, that he would eliminate the 1031 exchange program. Whether that's true or false, whether the Republicans hold the Senate, worst case scenario, and they can't get that through. However, he's already said he wants to close the loopholes for the wealthy, and depreciation is also something that he's already talked about removing and eliminating. So who knows? Like I said, there's a lot of wealthy Democrats that own, a lot of property as well. And we'll see how that goes. If obviously, and then if Biden gets in, there's going to be a lot of green incentive. You'll see the green credits everywhere. You'll see to go green and put solar panels on your home and on your building, and that will become a rocket ship opportunity.
Hmm.
So you'll be able to save money on, energy efficiency. That'll be a big push. If Trump wins or remains in office, the tax code, I think, will only become, I think he'll probably increase it even more in terms of more tax cuts for the middle class. Cost segregation will remain intact. Everything, the economy will keep rolling. I think interest rates are going to remain very, very low for the next few years. So that's going to be good for lending. Just a little concerned on just kind of what we do for a living, in terms of cost segregation, specialty tax and engineering type services. If Biden gets in, could be a little sketchy, but we shall see, man. 20
We
some
shall
days.
see. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns there, but should be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure. There's
So,
always going to be a way. There's always going to be. We just have to, like we're all entrepreneurs. We shift, we adapt, we modify. We'll see. But I think
well,
real estate will always remain a solid play, and
yeah,
we just
real
got to
estate
maneuver through it.
will be a solid play for sure. And I like your point that during COVID, the number of LLCs opening and businesses starting jumped. That there were more
Yeah,
people
it's through the
starting
roof.
businesses, and I think so many people can see COVID as, a real hindrance, that suddenly there's this unknown and there's a change and they're not sure what to do. But as entrepreneurs, any change is an opportunity. So, we're going to have to just, we have our vote and we have our say, but at the end of the day, the climate will change for what it becomes, and we have to adjust. And with that change, there will be opportunity. We can build the business we want and find advancement and profits in whatever that climate becomes, I believe. So,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Just like, I'm watching a lot of I talk to my clients, my multifamily clients, all the time. And I'm asking them, how's rent? Are you collecting your rent? Are people paying? And, across the board, they really haven't missed a beat. They're in communication with their tenants. They're giving them incentives to stay if they've had some hardships. It's been an interesting and eye-opening thing to watch in terms of the asset class of multifamily and how solid it is. So I think then I talk to my clients, are you getting COVID concessions on deals? And, are prices going down on deals that you were courting like 6 months ago? And the answer is no. Prices are not going down. They're probably even going up because more and more people are getting into the space because they're realizing, wow, this asset class performs well under uncertainty. So that's been really cool to see on how solid, the multifamily investing, and single family too, for that matter. People need a place to live. So that's never going to go away.
yeah, completely. It has been interesting for all the fear and uncertainty when COVID first came and there were all the regulations and stay at home and closing businesses.
Right. That was crazy.
Really, there hasn't been struggle from renters really, unable to pay rent. There hasn't been a drop in prices. Real estate is a good, solid investment. There's not
Yeah.
nowhere near the fluctuation that you have in other investments.
I think because obviously there's been a lot of bailout type money that has been poured into the economy. We'll see. It looks like a lot of people are getting back to work. I think you're going to have a percentage of people that are going to struggle with their rents, as time goes on. If this COVID thing keeps lingering, this economy needs to open up. I'm here in Michigan, so you've been hearing about our governor
Yeah.
and Trump's been going all, after her, and he sued, and they actually, she was forced to start opening up some of our state because she's like running it as like a freaking prison here. And it's hurting more businesses. So I personally just think people need to take responsibility with how they live their lives, do the sanitizing, wear the mask, and I think these states got to open up. People got to work. Kids got to get back to school. All that good stuff. So we'll see where COVID is after the election.
That's right. Lots going to change. So, All right, Terry. Well, I appreciate your insights and appreciate you coming on today. I'm really excited about, I'm sure a lot of listeners, the cost segregation and the benefits of it and really how it can impact their investment. It's probably going to be new to them and eye-opening to them. So if they want to find out more about you or Core Advisors, what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so you can, Terry Judge at coreadvisors.net is my email. Terry Judge, Judge at coreadvisors.net. You can reach me on LinkedIn. My Facebook account has been completely hacked and stolen, and Facebook will still not let me back in. It's been crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I just had a major identity theft situation last couple of weeks, but got everything fixed except that, and it's been nuts. So anyway, I'm not happy about it. Can't even interact with Facebook. It's been a terrible experience for someone that's been hacked. Yeah, I've got almost 4,000 connections and all my stuff on there. It's crazy. So yeah, that's another.
That is
Maybe we'll do
crazy.
yeah, things I've learned with this whole identity theft, man. It's nuts. So yeah, Terry Judge at coreadvisors.net. Feel free to reach out, and then you can hit me up on LinkedIn. Just message me. We do a free analysis. So if you have a building, you have a situation, even you've been thinking about maybe selling it or holding it, and you want any, we'll kind of hold your hand and put together a no cost benefit analysis for you and show you kind of in black and white, how this could benefit you. There's only a couple of reasons why you would not want to do a cost seg study. One is if you're about to sell the building, and two, the building is just not producing any profits. And for whatever reason, maybe it's vacant or you haven't finished your renovations yet. But other than that, get a cost seg done, or at least look into getting a cost seg, whether it's our firm or somebody else's firm. We'll definitely put some more cash flow into your world. No question.
All right.
So appreciate it,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah. Enjoyed catching up with you and talking, and look forward to talking to you again. Thanks, Terry.
My pleasure, man. We'll talk soon.
All right.